All right, everybody. It is my favorite time of the week, which is Friday night prepper pre-party show, where I get to hang with you and we get to talk about cool stuff like prepping and survival and bushcraft and world events and all kinds of cool stuff like that. I'm really glad to see you all. I hope you all are having a great Friday. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your time with me. Your weekend is important, and it really means the world to me that you give a little bit of your time to me on Friday nights. I'm always excited to see you all. You guys know the rules here: no racism, no sexism, no be nice to the moderators. If you have a disagreement with somebody, please articulate yourself. That's really important, because when we articulate ourselves, we explain our different point of view. And believe it or not, you can sometimes change somebody's opinion when you can actually intelligently explain your opinion. So those are the rules here. You guys know that. We've been doing this for a long time now. And let's go ahead and say hi to everybody in chat. Then I'm going to go over a couple quick things. We'll get going. All right. So I know I saw Scott here. Appreciate you. Always been coming here early. I appreciate that a lot. Getting the crowd warmed up for me. Southern Tier Prepper, how are you doing? Hanging out early as well. Lazarus Long, I hope you're doing well. Coffee First, Then Speak. Thanks for joining us. Tuck 5v1, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you're having a great night. Rural 2IC, always good to see you, my friend. Lee, how are you doing? How's the weather down there in Central Texas? Sorry, guys, I got a little bit of eye twitch tonight. You might see that. Let's talk about that in a second. I actually know what causes that. If you ever had that and it annoys the crap out of you, I actually will give you some thoughts on what causes that. It's all good. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while, man. I hope you're doing good. Hope you're having a good Friday. Appreciate you popping in. Thank you. Prepper for the Ages. Hope you're having a good Friday. Thank you so much for joining us. Daniel Salek, thank you for coming by. I appreciate you. Hope you're having a great Friday. All right. Yeah, so let's talk about the eye twitch thing, then. So the other night, you guys probably get insomnia sometimes. I get insomnia maybe like once a month or so. It's usually, believe it or not, there is some relationship with this for some people to the full moon. A friend of mine was the one who actually pointed that out to me. He said, years ago, I told him I get insomnia about once a month. He's like, track the full moon. Sure enough, like, it happens when there's about to be a full moon. Just one of those things that, like, your mind is a little bit more active. There's scientists who disagree with that, but if you ask anybody who's worked in an emergency room, a first responder, people who work in mental health, people who work in hospitals, they will tell you there is something to this. People who work in the jails and the prisons, there is something to this. Our mind is a little bit more active during full moons. You see this in nature, of course, right? Like cats and coyotes and wolves are more active during the full moon. So it hit me this week, and I think tomorrow night is the full moon. Hit me this week, and sure enough, I was up like most of the night. Well, that's one of the things, if you're not getting enough sleep, that can cause an eye twitch. There are several other things, like low potassium levels can do that as well. Stress can do it as well. I wouldn't say my stress is any worse than usual, and I don't think my potassium is low. I mean, I wouldn't hurt me, I guess, to pick up a couple bananas this weekend or whatever, but pretty sure it was because of the insomnia. So electrolytes being off can do that as well. So if you ever get that eye twitch thing, it's super annoying, right? Because like you have no control over it, and you'll be like talking to somebody, and they'll be like, so I apologize for that. This video tonight, we're going to be talking about the beginning steps of preparedness. So I know there's a lot of people in my audience who've been at this for a while, a lot of experienced preppers. I'm going to ask you to chime in with your tips as we're going here as well, and I'll try to put those up on the screen. If this feels, for those of you who've been prepping for a while, if this feels a little boring to you, just remember that periodically we have to remember there are new people to the community. And when we talk about, big events and stuff like that, it can feel a little overwhelming. So periodically, it's good to just dial it back a little bit and introduce people to the first few steps of getting into preparedness. So it's going to sound really basic to some of you, but let's help them out. Let's get some good tips out there. Last little announcement here is that I'm going to make sure that the remix button is turned on this. Because this is, I think, going to be a helpful video for new people. If anybody wants to remix any portion of this live stream tonight, if you want to cut out and make a short out of something, or if you want to rebroadcast the whole thing, I will not copy strike you. Feel free to use it on your channel or use bits and pieces of it or add commentary, whatever. I'm not going to copy strike you if you want to share this one out. Okay. So that I will make sure after this goes off live that I've got the remix thing turned on. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and get started. And again, keep in mind, folks, if you've been here for a while, we're talking like this one's geared towards brand new preppers. Okay. People who are brand new to preparedness. Maybe they're not even going to use the word prepping, but it is National Preparedness Month. We want them to have some tips. The more people that get into this, the better it is for all of us. All right. First tip is you need to start with what we call a 72-hour kit. Okay. So you need to have at least 3 days worth of food for each person in your household, food and water and hygiene essentials. So that includes toilet paper. Okay. As we all learned from the pandemic thing. 3 days for each person in your household. Now, some of the people in my community are going to be saying, no, that's not enough. I agree. Let's get them started, though. Let's go with 3 days. If we can get you to 3 days, we'd love to see you go to 2 weeks. If we can get you to 2 weeks, then we want you to go as much as you can adequately store without turning your house into like some kind of hoarding situation, right? So as much food as you can possibly store. But start with 3 days. 3 days is a really good goal of dried goods, canned goods, and drinkable water. Okay, 3 days worth of that. That's going to bring me to the next tip, which is water. You want to have at least 3 gallons of water per person per day. No, I'm sorry. Let me do that again. 3 gallons of water per person for your household. Okay, so 1 gallon each. 1 gallon per day per person is the standard. Okay. Now, in the community here, we would also say we would strongly encourage you to have a way to purify water, whether that be through a very good water filter system or boiling will at least take the pathogens out of it. It won't remove chemicals and heavy metals and contaminants, but it will at least kill the pathogens. You really want to think about at some point investing in a filter. In fact, that's usually what I recommend. If you're going to put a little money into this, that's the first thing that's worth putting a little bit of money into is a really high quality filter. Now I'm going to ask my chat if they want to chime in on some of their favorites. I'll tell you a couple of mine. For personal water filtration, the Grail is my preferred method. If you are looking for household family, then I think Berkey is really good. Sawyer is really good. Katadyn is really good. Life Straw makes a giant sized one that's suitable for filtering water for your entire family. So those are all good options in my opinion. Let's check the chat, see if anybody else wants to suggest a water filter that they like. All right, just scrolling back up here a little bit. The moon is 10% iron and now it's rusting. I don't know if I'm reading that right. I don't sit around catching and eating deer with my bare hands during full moons. Not anymore. Okay. Hey, Dangerous Freedoms. That's so for you all Becoming Dangerous, who's been a friend of our channel for a while here. That's the new name for his channel. Dangerous Freedoms. I'll put up there so you can see it. Hey, Rob B, thanks for joining us. Now we're just getting started. So Scott Hummer says it can. Yeah, when I started it was overwhelming because of how much was required. I started with baby steps when Y2K was active. Yeah, preparedness can feel overwhelming in the very beginning, especially if you're new to it and you're looking at channels and you say, look at all the preps that this person has, look at this expensive filter that they have, look at this expensive equipment that they have. And it can feel like, oh my gosh, how am I going to catch up? Everything is so expensive. You can't approach it like that. You really can't. You have to remember that a lot of the channels like myself have been doing this for a very, very long time. I don't believe the world is ending tomorrow. I believe that you have time to prepare, but the sooner you start, the better off you're going to be. So manage within your budget and prepare in small steps, right? Don't go out and blow your credit card. This is a big message that we say on this channel. So if you're new to the channel, listen to this. This is really important. Do not take your credit card out and spend thousands and thousands of dollars on preps. You have now created a new problem for yourself because now you have debt that you have to pay off. And we try to discourage debt in the preparedness community. Okay. So what you want to do is make a budget for yourself, work within that budget, and a little bit at a time, you start to build up the supplies that you need. And remember, when you don't have money that week to build supplies, you work on your skills like foraging, gardening, first aid skills, right? And you can learn a lot of this stuff just from watching videos, but there's also great classes. You can go to events like Georgia Bushcraft, which is coming up in November, and take some really great classes on learning things like everything from beekeeping to um, building a fire with friction fires with just sticks. Really, really cool stuff. But don't try not to get overwhelmed. I know it can feel overwhelming, especially in the beginning. That was a great comment, Scott. Thank you. All right. So prepper for the ages say, yeah, I like that. Just reframing it a little bit, right? Like, because preppers sometimes get a bad reputation as like, we're hoarders or conspiracy theory nuts, and maybe sometimes that's true, but don't think of it like that. Think of it as like your grandmom had a basement full of stuff like this, right? And she always had extra food around. And this was just considered wise things to do, right? Somehow and we got a little bit too complacent and we got a little too comfortable that the grocery store was always going to have food, and we've gotten away from things like this. It's okay to get back to it, and it's okay to say I only want to do this a little bit. I mean, I just want to have some shelf stable food around. That's okay. You may end up taking it further, but if that's all you want to do, you're going to be much better off than the person who chose not to do that. Yeah, that's a thing. It's all good, especially if you follow like forums for some of the big cities where people are used to just being able to go to the grocery store on their way home. They're less likely to have a lot of food in their house or their apartment. And so most people can go a day, but then after a day, you'll start seeing on these forums, well, why are no restaurants opening? Well, because you just got hit with a Category 5 hurricane. That's why, and so this is why you have to have some of your own food stored at home, shelf-stable food. This is a great thing here that Utah Mike is saying. I was actually going to get to that later, but we can hit it now. Tell people start with an emergency fund of at least $100 cash. Yes, and as he said, much more if possible. Definitely want to keep building with that. So try to put away $50, $100. Start a savings that's specifically for emergencies. Cash does matter in 99% of emergencies, right? So you're going to hear people in the community that are like way on the extreme end of it that say cash doesn't matter because when the zombies rise and the EMP hits, it's going to be completely useless. Well, maybe in the most extreme end of world type scenarios, cash would be useless. But for every other scenario leading up to that, cash still matters. So yes, we do encourage people to have an emergency amount of cash as much as you can afford to, but don't get overwhelmed and intimidated by that. Start with what's reasonable for you and just keep adding to it. For me, for my long-term preppers, I usually recommend that you want to have at least enough emergency cash on hand to get you 3 days. If you could only pay with cash, 3 days worth of groceries and 3 days worth of hotel. Okay. That's the minimum that I recommend for my audience that's been doing this a while. If you're brand new to this, you don't have to have that much. Just start and keep building with it. That's the idea, is like get started and once you get into it, you'll see, hey, this is actually kind of fun, and you get motivated to do more and more, and you'll feel more confident. You'll feel less anxiety about storms, power outages, and world conflicts and things like that. Great comments here. I love it. 3 days food, water, hygiene. Yes. Rob B says you can hire him to build some shelves in your spare bedroom. I love that. 3.5 gallons per 3.5 gallons person day. Yep. 3 days, then three. Oh, that's it. That's it right there. Start with 3 days. Try to get to 3 weeks, and then if your space and budget allows for it, try to get to 3 months. If you can get to 3 months worth of food, water, or a way to at least to make water safe. First aid supplies, medications, things like that. If you can get to 3 months, you're going to be better than 99% of the world in terms of being prepared for bad situations. But start with 3 days, see how that feels for you. You're probably going to feel more confident with that, and you're going to want to say, hey, I can probably add to this. I can do better than 3 days. Hey, Vanessa Kitty, it's good to see you. Appreciate you. All right. Cold War Prepper Lee recommends Survival Filter Pro. Grill just had a so yes, absolutely. Coffee first, then speak. Grill does do sales. Some of these water filters are a little bit pricey. Grill does do sales. Maybe the next one might be, I'm just guessing, I don't know. The next one might be Black Friday after Thanksgiving. Keep an eye on it, subscribe to their mailing list, watch for the sales. Definitely great suggestions there. Alternate ways to cooking like camp stoves and calcium. Is that supposed to be hydrochloride? Is that basically like bleach for water purification? Our well here is tested good to go. All right, love to hear that. Yeah, groundwater, well water tastes so much better than city water. So much better. Spring water tastes the best if you can get a natural spring going. All right. Hey, Bob, it's good to see you. Appreciate you. Oh, thank you. Yeah, we like to support each other here, Scott. Thank you. Yeah, mods, if you guys want to put mods, if you specifically want to put your channels up, I'll put them up on the big board and we can put them in chat as well. I definitely want to make sure I'm supporting you all. Ham Radio Prep is still having their extended Labor Day sale for a few hours if you need test for comms. Thank you for telling us about that. And Scott says it's a marathon, not a sprint. Exactly. Coffee First says, budget? What budget? Is the only radiation filter there. Seychelles. I'm guessing that's pricey. I don't know that one, Lee. I will look for it and I'll check it out. Fitness has some pretty inexpensive aspects. Water filtration, water safety, I'm going to say for me is like, that is number one. And it should be the first thing that you spend money on. If you're going to put a little bit of money into being prepared, water filtration is the thing that I would have you, that's worth your investment. Cash and small bills. Yes. Thank you for saying that. So if a store is willing to open up and sell to items to cash only customers, they are going to prefer that you have small bills. Coffee First says nothing over tens. I do a mix of ones, fives, tens, 20s, with ones being the most that I have, fives being the second most, and so forth. Okay, easiest thing is to buy a few cases of MREs to get yourself started, then start buying the better quality stuff later on. I'll agree with that if you can get a good price. I haven't bought from MRE Mountain in a while, but that's where I used to get my MREs from. Yes, it can. Thank you for saying that, Lee. So if you are in a disaster, just know that you, first of all, as somebody who has friends who were impacted by Hurricane Helene, FEMA may not even get to you. FEMA may be a struggle to deal with. FEMA may require paperwork that you've lost. FEMA may take weeks to get to you, right? So if your thinking is, oh, the government's going to take care of me, I have to tell you, it's not a good plan. It's not a good plan. I'm not against FEMA helping people at all. I want to be clear about that. But if that's your plan, I have to say you're on the right channel, because we got to get you out of that mindset. We gotta break you of that mindset. Pool shock. Okay, thank you, Tuck. Hey, Orlando Prepper, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you. Some water tastes great, not all. Okay. All right, so we got some channels coming up here. Southern Tier Prepper is up on the board there. Make sure you check out her channel. Daniel Salek, an old Dutch oven is a great way to cook. Yep. And if you've got a little bit of land, a little bit of yard, you can do like a little campfire in an emergency and cook on the campfire. Scruffy Scrubs, good to see you. Thank you so much. There's Orlando Prepper up there on the board. Coffee first, then speak. I am not a fan of hardtack, but it is kind of a fun little experiment. That's Cold War Preppers channel there. Hey, Kentucky, it's good to see you. No worries. Appreciate you. Ooh, that does not sound fun. So yeah, so the reason we stress water so much on this channel is that lack of access to clean drinking water is the number one killer in the world. It is not war, it is not gun violence, it is lack of access to fresh, clean drinking water. Now, because we live in the United States, that sounds absurd to some people because we're blessed with all the infrastructure that's been built before most of us were born. So we have clean drinking water every time you turn on the tap, right? But that's not the case for a large portion of the planet. And your clean drinking water that you're getting out of your tap can get disrupted if there's a storm in your area, if the filter systems within your city break down, if the filter systems within your city have to be shut down. That happens here sometimes because the power is out and they can't guarantee that the water coming out of the tap is clean. So what they'll do to make sure people don't die is they'll just shut off the water. This is why you have to have some of your water stored. Ammo Can Man seems to have good deals on MREs. Okay, we'll throw that up there on the board. There's Wayne's channel. Food, water, camp stove, heater, emergency radio. Yep, I was going to get to the emergency radio thing here in a second. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. That's a good post. All right, so as far as your emergency radio, for most of you, if you're not going to get into like ham or CB, then the minimum for a new prepper that you want to have is an AM FM radio that can run on batteries or solar. Okay, solar rechargeable batteries. Okay, and you want to make sure that you've got your batteries topped off before the storm comes in. Now, the next step up from that would be a NOAA weather radio. Okay. And you can get those on Amazon. Just look for NOAA weather radio, NOAA weather radio. That'll come with instructions. They're super easy to program. I promise you, it's not complicated. It's super easy to program. You're going to look up the code for your area. And then what you'll do is you're going to need to learn how to use it. So you turn it on and it'll give you a buzz or an alert when inclement weather is about to hit your area to like shelter in place or whatever. Okay. So that's the next step up from AM FM. And then for more advanced preppers, they may want to think about ham and CB and FMRS and FMRS and other walkie-talkies, things like that, other alternative comms. And even on your phone, right? So think about like on your phone, if you're a beginning prepper, go to the app store on your phone and download the app for the local channels in your area, right? The local news channels in your area. And then go into settings and turn on emergency alerts. And you'll get a lot of stuff there as long as your phone is turned on and has a charge. You'll get a lot of alerts about like tornado in your area, lightning imminent, things like that. I'm going to come back to the lighting thing in just a minute there, Wayne. I think I'm glad you brought that up. Yep. Not being able to stay warm. I'm going to get into that here in just a second too. All right. So It's All Good says, we went through a horrific flood on July 4th. Our community really supported each other. TDM and FEMA have been very helpful, but they take their time. Yeah, absolutely. These are Orlando Prepper says that we have a great community. These are great channels to subscribe to if you're new. To again, try not to get intimidated. A lot of the content that we put out is geared towards people who have been doing this for a while. But again, just be patient with it. You kind of learn as you go, and before you know it, you'll be making your own channel teaching people how to do this stuff. Yeah, MREs, I like the taste of a lot of them, but if you eat them more than a couple days in a row, just be prepared that you're going to get some GI issues. So you might want to keep some Colace around, or you might want to supplement with some fresh stuff from the garden or foraging because it can bind you up. FRS and G. Thank you, Lee. FRS and GMRS. The one that is least crowded is MERS. Thank you. Lazarus Long says, I've been playing with software-defined radio, just a small thumb drive that fits into the USB port of my laptop. Receives everything from AM radio. Oh, that's cool. All right, so Orlando Prepper, and by the way, if you want to learn some of that radio stuff, Orlando Prepper's been doing some great videos on that. The best SW911 radio gets every frequency in the air. Okay, there's a link to it there. So that's in chat if you guys want to check that out. And then Wayne says, we go through about 25 gallons of kerosene during the winter because of winter storms and cold snaps taking the grid up. Yeah, so let's go ahead and talk about like winter storm prep, since we're going to be getting there soon enough. I took some notes here that I wanted to get to, but kerosene heaters are good. When I lived in Kentucky, we had a couple of kerosene heaters. Now that I'm in Charleston, our winters are much milder. I can get by with they call them the little buddies or Mr. Buddies. I'll put a link up here. Hang on one second. So you can seal off the rooms that you're not using and just heat one room. If your power's out, it's a much more efficient way to do that. All right, so here's this is an Amazon affiliate link, by the way. So if you use my link, I get a little commission. Just I have to disclose that. All right, so that is the Mr. Buddy heater. It's very small. It uses the little propane canisters, so you can get those like, I don't remember how expensive they are. They're pretty cheap, but you get them in like packs of 6. For me, who lives in a very mild climate, and we really only get like 3 or 4 weeks of like real cold for the winter, that's fine. But if you get a colder winter and you don't have like a wood burning stove or a fireplace, kerosene heater is probably a good way to go. If you have propane on your property, you might be able to do like those propane wall heaters. Those are a good option as well. Or you might be able to just turn your oven on sometimes and just like bake with that if you've got natural gas. That was how a lot of people did it when power went out before some of this technology existed. Yep, I love natural gas. I know they're making it harder to get in some areas, but I love natural gas. And my wife, who's a chef, prefers to cook with natural gas. Yeah, some of us are lucky that we don't get too bad of the winters, but we do get some pretty rough summers here. If we lose power in August here, it's pretty rough because humidity is typically up in 90% range, and the temperature is almost for almost all of August is like over 95 degrees. So it's a rough deal here when you lose power in the deep dirty South in the summertime. So and that's one of the things, like even the pools, people in our neighborhood have pools, but the water is so warm that even that doesn't cool you off. So cool your wrists and your neck, like that's, if you can get access to cold water, if you can make ice, they sell small ice makers that will run off a generator, even a solar generator, I believe. Let me see. I'm gonna see if I can find one on Amazon for you. So something like this. I'm not saying I've not, so just FYI, I've not tested this brand, okay? But it does have a lot of good reviews. But I personally have not tested or vetted this brand. Just letting you know on this one. Something like this. Put the link up here. Again, a beginning prepper doesn't necessarily have to have this. Those of us who've been in it for a while, this might be a good acquisition. So this is a little ice maker. If I lose power here in the summertime, I can maybe make ice off my generator and then use that to cool myself, not just with like ice water, but like putting ice water on cooling rags and then putting it around your neck and around your wrist, and then add a fan to that. It'll keep you alive anyways. It'll keep you from getting heat exhaustion. Is it going to be as comfortable as central air? No, definitely not. All right. No worries. I appreciate you popping by. Thank you, Scruffy Scrubs. Enjoy your Sabbath. Kerosene is the most efficient. Yeah, kerosene is very efficient. Throw 36 hours out of one 5-gallon can running the largest Dyna heater you can buy. Yeah, kerosene's good. It's definitely a great option for people who need to think about their winter survival, especially if you don't have access to like a fireplace. That's a good suggestion there too. Make sure you have anti-diarrheal and laxative. You just don't know how a change in diet will affect you. Definitely anti-diarrhea medicine is something we always keep in our medicine cabinet. And again, because that fresh water thing, the getting sick from having unclean water is what it's going to do. Is you're going to be losing water faster than you can take it in, and that's what kills people. Mr. Buddy is awesome if you camp too. Yep, it can be handy for that as well. Yep. All right, cool. Let's go on. Yeah, there's no reason to not have Imodium. Yep. All right. I had a couple more thoughts here for beginning preppers. I'm not, I mean, candles are fine. You just need to know that don't buy cheap candles that have like really ultra thin glass. The glass sometimes does shatter, and that does sometimes cause a fire. If you're going to get candles, spend the money and get something a little bit more resilient, more quality. Make sure you're watching it. Don't fall asleep with the candle going. That's how a lot of house fires start. If you have small children or rowdy pets, maybe don't do the candles. Flashlights are generally going to be a better option for most people, certainly safer. You want to have enough flashlights for everybody in the family. And I also recommend those Nebo lights. I've got a link to that in the description, but we'll go ahead and put one up here as well. These are really cool, these Nebo lanterns. And they run off just like AAA, I think, or AA. I think it's AA. Okay, so it's called the Nebo Poppy. Oh, the price has gone up a little bit. Sorry about that. It used to be like $15. They've gone up. But these are really cool. So we use these when we've had hurricane power outages. And basically, like, we'll put them in the front window, and they have rechargeable ones as well. We'll put them in. That's an affiliate link, by the way. We'll put them in the front window, and it'll run all night long. Like, our neighbors will say, "Hey, it looked like you guys were up all night." We weren't. We had the Nebo lantern going. And for certain situations, like I've talked about the looters that, yeah, the jerks that will show up and try to loot neighborhoods after a hurricane, you want to show that you're home. You want to have some element for security that, like, there's somebody here, because they're looking for those criminals are looking for people homes that are unoccupied, basically. So that's the Nebo lantern. We like having a few of those around. I recommend those. We've had good luck with them. As far as your flashlights go, I think there's a lot of good brands out there. My recommendation is that you have a mix of ones that use AAA and AA, and a mix of some that have rechargeable or built-in and rechargeable. Because if you later on get yourself some solar panels or a solar power station, you'll be able to charge those off of that, and you basically you'll have almost unlimited light, unless you get like a really long period of time where there's too much cloud cover for it to charge. It's a very sustainable way to make sure you have light for your family. Hey, Bacon and Tammy, thanks for joining. Appreciate you both. So there, you would be the guy that goes to a store during a blackout to get a I hate going to the store right before a hurricane. I've done it a couple times, and people are rowdy and like panicky, and like there's a vibe that happens when people like realize all of a sudden at the last minute that they don't have what they need. I personally have not seen people fight over groceries at the grocery store. Things have gotten rowdy at the gas station. I've seen that. I just don't want to be part of that. That's why preppers get our stuff in advance. And, with the toilet paper thing during the pandemic, people were saying, oh, preppers caused this problem. No, we didn't. No, we didn't. No, we didn't. Because preppers already had all their stuff long before the panic started. It was the people who didn't prepare that caused the toilet paper shortage, because they started to see the supply was getting dwindling. They panicked, and everybody was buying up as much as they can. We already had our stash. I was helping friends who didn't have theirs by giving them a roll here and there, to keep people supplied. So that's such an aggravating myth that persists out there in the community, that preppers caused the toilet paper shortage. No, we didn't. We actually it was probably not as bad as it could have been because of the prepping community. And you should be thanking us, and you should be thinking about this for the future. Sorry, that one gets me going. Everybody should be able to be self-sufficient for a week. I think that's good advice. Yeah. And, even if you don't have a lot of space, we talk sometimes about that here, like for apartment preppers, there's still stuff you can do to be more resilient and more self-sufficient. Rob recommends the Milwaukee cordless tripod light. I have seen that. I don't own one myself, but I've seen it, and it seems like a good system. Yep, those wind-up radios can be good. I've had some that were really not too, so make sure you check your reviews on those. Yeah, people get rowdy. People get rowdy. And that's the other thing is, like, if the power hasn't gone out yet and you went to the store and there's no bottled water, go home and find what clean containers you have and start filling water from the sink before they shut off the water, before the water is no longer accessible to you. So you don't have to go out and fill your house full of bottled water. I personally like to have some on hand at all times, but if you can't get it, go home and find all your clean containers, fill them all up. That's, there's no need to get in a fist fight over this. Unless the zombies rise, and then you are going to have to fist fight for your water. Yeah, you don't want to be that person that's like, fighting for that last can of Spam. Spam ain't even worth it, y'all. Spam's all right. Little by little, you start thinking about this stuff, right? So if you're thinking, man, good flashlights are expensive. Yeah, they are. Good flashlights are expensive. Get what you can afford to start and then upgrade later on when the money's there. Better than no flashlight at all. I'd rather have you have a cheap, crappy flashlight that barely fills up your room than have no flashlight at all. All right. Here's one that a lot of people forget: manual can opener. Manual can opener. A lot of people only have an electric can opener in the house. So what good is a whole shelf full of canned peaches and Spam going to do if they're not pop top and you don't have a manual can opener? You're going to be fighting with that thing with a screwdriver and a knife, and you'll probably be able to get it open, but hopefully not cut yourself in the process. Make your life easier. Buy yourself a manual can opener. All right, next one here, and this one's super important. Don't forget your pets, folks. Prep for your pets. Your pets are part of your family. All right. We're not going to eat fluffy. Okay. You're better than that. We're not gonna resort to Neanderthal level survival, folks. That's why you buy the canned food, so you don't have to eat fluffy. Okay. So buy some cat food for your cat, buy some dog food for your dog, get your cat litter, get some stuff for your chinchillas or whatever else you've got in your house. But your pets are part of your family, and it is your responsibility to prep for them as well. First aid kits. This is a big one on my channel. I'm constantly telling people you got to have good first aid supplies. If for some reasons a big storm happens, you might not be able to get to the hospital. If a tree branch comes through your house and pierces somebody in your family through their arm or through their abdomen, you are the first responder, and you might have a delayed. There might be a delay in being able to get them to that higher level of medical care. You're going to need to know how to handle it, and you're going to need to have a decent first aid kit for the types of injuries that can be sustained in a tornado, in a hurricane, in a earthquake. And those can be pretty serious injuries. So you need to have a pretty serious first aid kit. You can use my discount code in the description down below. I love Rhino Rescue. They've made some really fantastic supplies. They send me out stuff that I've tested. You can watch some of those videos. In fact, I'm going to be working on another one here showing you how to use some of these things. But you got to have a good first aid kit, not like those rinky-dink ones that are coming in the aluminum boxes. That doesn't have what you need. It really doesn't. Those are crappy. That's not going to be enough. This is going to be probably the number 2 thing after water safety and water purification that I would say people need to be thinking about would be get a good first aid kit and get good first aid training. Okay. As quick as you can. If you can't get to it right now, at least watch some good videos on it, but make a commitment that you're going to take good first aid and CPR, stop the bleed, as much as you can to the extent of your time and your budget. The more skills you bring, the less you're going to be dependent on the system if something big happens. All right. Next one, which I would say is probably number 3 for me, would be medications. Any medications you have, you need to start thinking about having extra on hand. There's a couple ways that you can do this. You can refill most prescriptions a few days early, and you start. So basically, let's say that your prescriptions were due on the 30th of the month to get refilled. On the 27th or 26th of the month, call your pharmacy and say, I need to get a refill. Most medications, they're not even going to question it. They're going to refill it, and your insurance is probably going to pay for it. Okay. If there's a few that they can't because they're controlled substances. So if your kid's on like a stimulant for ADHD, if grandpa's on some kind of opiate because he's got a wrecked back, if Aunt Sally is on Xanax because she's got horrible panic attacks, unfortunately for those, you're probably not going to be able to fill those ones early because they're controlled substances. But for all the other ones, especially your heart medicines, your asthma medicines, your epilepsy medicines, your cholesterol medicines, diabetes, any of those are life-saving drugs. You need to start to get ahead of this. Now, another option, if you don't want to go the route of like slowly building a stockpile, is check on Jace Medical. Guess what? Got a discount code for them as well. And Jace Medical has a lot of medications, not all, but they have a lot of medications available that you can order a year's supply in some cases. And it is 100% legit. It is a doctor that is licensed that will evaluate your request based on your medical needs, and then your meds are shipped discreetly from a licensed pharmacist in the United States. Okay, so it's not like some black market, dark web thing that you're ordering meds from some country that's being made in a sweatshop with rats crawling all around it. It's not like that. This is a legitimate source that is perfectly legal that you can use to get up to a year's supply of medications. Why not do it if you can afford it? If you can't, then start building that stockpile, like I said. Okay. I only got a couple more. Let me check your chat here and see if anybody hit the last few ones that I have, and then I got a little message for you to end the night with some hope and positivity. So let's go ahead and scroll back here a little bit, see if I missed anything. Water bobs are kind of cool. So if you don't know what that is, a water bob is basically like this giant, like heavy duty plastic that you would put in the tub, and you can fill it up if you know there's going to be a probable power outage to store some water that way. If you're going to do candles or something like that, make sure somebody is in the room and keeping an eye on it, and do not fall asleep, please. Thank you. Okay, Rob B said it. This was one of the ones that I was going to hit on. If you can afford it, it's a good idea to have some battery banks and power banks, right? Basically, these are the kind of things you use to charge up your phone and small electronics. You can also use them to charge your rechargeable battery flashlights, like I was talking about before, or if you have battery powered fans to keep cool. It can do a lot of things, a lot of small appliances. So those are really handy to have. If you can, get at least one, and then later on, start adding to them. And if you've got the budget to go for it, the solar generators, if you want to think about it like that, or some people call them solar power stations or solar battery banks. It's basically like a battery bank or a power bank, but much, much more capacity. And you can run a fan for a really long time on that. You can charge up your laptop and your iPads, keep your kids occupied with their little games and stuff like that, so that you can get other stuff done. Those are really handy to have. It's a little bit more of a high ticket item. Upis is a good brand. Blue Eddy is a good brand. EcoFlow is a good brand. Goal Zero is a good brand. Jackery is a good brand. Those are the ones that I feel comfortable endorsing. And again, if you got the money, go for it. You get a couple solar panels to go along with it, so you can, during the daytime, go out and recharge that thing, and then at nighttime you've got it to power everything you need, or most of what you need. The one I have, which they don't make them anymore, unfortunately, will actually run my chest freezer and I can cycle on and off for a couple days without have to recharge the thing. So they have more power and capacity than most people realize. Strangely enough, a coffee pot will and an electric space heater, they will not handle it. It's too much power drainage, too fast, and it just wipes them out really, really fast. I did tests on that a while back, but again, the company that made mine has gone out of business, unfortunately. So there's no sense of even like showing you that video because you can't get that one. So I would say Jackery, EcoFlow, Opus, Goal Zero, Blue Eddy, any of those are good brands. You're gonna be real happy with anything. To me, it's money well spent if you can afford it. Yeah, I mean, I pretty much use the manual too, but a lot of people do have the electric. You can't eat Fluffy, no. Fluffy is not tonight's dinner. Fluffy might eat you if he gets desperate enough. That's a good suggestion right there. Wayne says, make sure you're eating the foods that you're storing so your digestive system doesn't freak out during an emergency. Yeah, if you've never eaten MREs before, your stomach might be like, what is this? Probably not going to kill you, but you might get a little constipated, or you could get diarrhea. Chicken feed, yep. Well, if you've got chickens, I mean, or some animals that's their purpose, right? I'm probably going to get hate mail now from all the vegetarians and stuff, but chickens and goats and lambs and cows and sorry. Bacon says we're not going to resort to Neanderthal levels of preparation. You know what? So since you guys are talking about the condiments and stuff like that, it's not a bad idea to store up some condiments, and salt and pepper, things like that. If you do have to eat squirrel, you're going to be glad if you have something to add a little more flavor to that. I've eaten squirrel. It's not my favorite. There's Bacon's channel, by the way. And Bacon usually goes live on Friday nights as well, y'all. So he usually goes live much later. If you're staying up late and you want to hang out, my recommendation is bring a beverage and join in the party, because Bacon's channel is like a party. You're gonna have a good time. Yeah, that's great right there. Bacon says little by little you're gonna add a couple extra cans of soup, a couple extra batteries, pack of band-aids. Just if actually Lee's channel too. So Cold War Prepper, Lee's channel here. He does prepper pantry hauls every week. Go watch and you'll get some good ideas of the kind of things to store. Every week he's showing you what he's putting in his prepper pantry. There'll be a lot. Hey, Rob, if it happens, man, there's going to be a lot of fires. There's going to be a lot of fires. Yeah, you can learn how to do that. Yep, Utah Mike. The people can learn how to make their own stuff if they're handy and crafty like that. Pour over coffee. Yeah, you got to have some caffeine supply. I'm blessed here in my area. We have a plant that grows here called Yaupon, which has caffeine in it. It's actually the only native source of caffeine in the United States. There are teas that grow here, but they weren't natives to the United States. And it's everywhere. It's everywhere around me. So I will never run out of caffeine as long as I'm here. And I like the taste of it. To me, it kind of tastes a little bit like green tea. So like, is it coffee? No, but I definitely can live with it. Okay, so Orlando Preppers got some videos on how to build a power station if you guys want to check that out. Hey, Steve, it's good to see you. By the way, Steve and Wayne both have done responses to my VR from this week about would you help if an elderly person and a child came to your property. You guys might want to check those videos out. I put Steve's in the community tab. Wayne's is going to go in there tomorrow. Somebody else did one too. Who was the other one that did it? Let me tell you. Give me a second. I'll tell you. Oh, Orlando Prepper. Yeah, Orlando Prepper did one as well. So his is linked in my community tab as well. So make sure you check those out. I think you'll I learned some stuff from y'all, things that I hadn't thought of, and Wayne's as well. So far, everyone that has put a video out that I've seen in response to that, I've learned something from each of you. All right. I'm going to go ahead and scroll down a little bit more here. I apologize if I missed something. It's really, really good comments here, really good suggestions. I like to keep some of that stuff on hand too, Southern Tier Prepper, like electrolyte packets and stuff like that. I find them just like when I'm working out, because it gets so hot here in the summertime. Just when I'm like doing gardening or like day hiking and stuff like that, I find them really helpful for me. So absolutely an emergency. Could they possibly be a lifesaver to have electrolyte packets? Definitely. Learning how to cook from scratch. Oh my gosh, Wayne. So many people out there don't know how to cook. They everything is DoorDash or Uber Eats or takeout. I don't know what y'all are gonna do if like the system shuts down for a few weeks. You're gonna have to learn real fast. Yep, money. We said. Yep, definitely want to have some supply of cash on hand. Okay, good stuff. There's Lee's channel again. Does bear meat taste good? Those of you who've had it, I imagine it's like really fatty. You have to watch it. You have to watch it. So many fires are happening because people fall asleep, though. Yeah. So detox. So those of you, if you're addicted to coffee, detox from caffeine is no joke, y'all. I've done it a couple times. It is no joke. It won't kill you, but you're gonna get a nasty headache if you drink coffee every day like me, and if you drink a lot of coffee like me. You need to be aware, like store as much as you can, but if things got shut down for a while and it looked like you weren't going to be able to resupply, you need to start tapering down to minimize that withdrawal as best you can. It is no joke. Same thing with people who smoke or chew tobacco. Like that's no joke going through withdrawals from any drug. It's not a good time. Are you going to die from tobacco withdrawal? No, but it's not going to be fun. So if you know that you're not going to be resupplying and you're not growing your own tobacco, you better think about like, I got to start weaning down if it looks like I can't resupply. It's going to be easier than to just like go cold turkey. And we talked about, I think it was last week, I don't remember if it was here or one of the channels I was guesting on. There are 3 drugs you need to be aware of that can kill you if you are addicted to them and you can't get access to them. First one's going to surprise people: alcohol. If you are heavily addicted to alcohol, if you drink every day and you're drinking a large quantity of alcohol every day, you absolutely can die if you go into withdrawal. You absolutely, if you get the shakes, you're already in danger. That's a good indicator of like how severe your body is addicted to it. If you're getting the shakes, that's not good. And you need to really think about tapering yourself down. And I'm going to recommend, as a therapist, you think about, I'm not going to tell anybody what to do because I don't do that here. And I don't do that with my patients either. I just give them information. But I need you to know there is a danger to that you can die from alcohol withdrawal if you're heavily addicted. Next one is benzodiazepines. So that's like your Xanax, Valium, clonazepam, is that Ativan? Is that one of them? Ativan. If you're on those and you've been on them for a long time and you're taking a high dose and you suddenly got cut off, yes, you can die from that. It is very dangerous. So again, if you're in one of these situations, if you're taking some of these things or you're addicted to some of these things, you better have a plan for if the supply chain gets cut off, so that you can at least like, how am I safely going to detox off of this stuff? Because it can kill you. Third one that I know of that can kill you, and this is pretty rare, but I have known of a few cases, is people with a heavy addiction to, like, I'm talking really, really heavy addiction to opiates. Like they're taking a ton of fentanyl every day. Now that's not going to be most people out there. Most people, like grandpa with his Lortabs or whatever he's taking for his back. As long as he weans down, he's probably going to go through some pretty ugly withdrawal. He's not going to be feeling good. He might get diarrhea. He might be throwing up. He might even be hallucinating. Probably going to get fever and shakes. But in most cases, he's not going to die. But if you were like really jacked up on like fentanyl, yeah, there are a few cases where people did die from the withdrawal from that. It's pretty rare, but I have known of a few cases of that too. So if you're dealing with those or a family member is dealing with those, start developing a plan. Because if things get real crazy, the supply chains can get cut off, and that means the black market supply chains as well. I will say, and I said this on wherever we were having this discussion the other day, I feel pretty confident that as long as there's people, somebody's going to be making moonshine. So for those of you with the alcohol addiction, you're probably going to be able to trade or barter for moonshine with somebody. It's just, people make alcohol everywhere in the world. It's done in prisons, folks. So I have a feeling that one would at least be accessible. The other two, maybe not so much. Well, YouTube's going to hate this video, huh? After all that. So bear is a bit greasy and stringy, but not bad. I'll eat it if I have to. Slow cooker probably the way to go. Okay. Probably marinate the crap out of that thing, right? Okay, so Wayne says you want to take a bear early before they move from berries to eating salmon. They don't taste good once they start eating the salmon. Yep, Japan holly is the plant that we were talking about. That's the one that has caffeine in it. It is the only native source. Now you might have, if you have a tea farm near you, then you might have other caffeinated plants, but they're just not native to the United States. So you might even think about like, oh, let me research if I like to grow things, if I like to grow a garden. Maybe you want to look into what are the caffeinated teas that I can grow in my area. That might be a good solution. Yeah, Southern Tier Prepper. It's no joke. Tobacco withdrawal can get kind of ugly. Chrome Dome Omega says, what's the best way to store it, as well as what's the best form to store for longevity? Okay, so my situation's unique because I have basically an unlimited supply of caffeine here, but we do store 6 months to a year's supply of coffee at a time, especially if we find a deal on the brand that we like. What I do is I put it in the freezer. We seal it up real good, and then we put it in the freezer. If you didn't have, like, if you couldn't keep the freezer going, I still think shelf stable is going to be good for 6 months to a year. After a year, I don't know. You guys in comments if you want to jump in on that. Oh, so the bear fat has a lot of good uses. That makes sense. Yeah. Caffeine tabs is a good idea too. Those can be a little harsh on the stomach, but if you're going through withdrawal from caffeine, that might be a good option to kind of like taper you down. Yeah, somehow we got into the long-term storage here. You don't want the shakes. If you drink, stop drinking every once in a while to check if you got those. Yeah. So the DTs, like we were saying there, that's, if you're getting DTs, that's a sign that your body is really dependent on it. And again, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I do care about everybody in this community, and I would encourage you to think about how do I get a little safer with this at least. So what I do with my patients is, not every therapist says we're really getting way off topic here, but might as well. Not every therapist is going to tell you, hey, you can't drink. You got to quit drinking. There's another modality called harm reduction, which pairs with a therapy modality called motivational interviewing. And so a lot of times I'm talking about harm reduction with my patients, which is, it's not safe for you to drink and drive. You know that when you drink to excess, your wife and kids are getting really upset with you. You know that if you drink too much, you're getting sick or you're waking up with the shakes. None of that is good. None of that is healthy. You're putting yourself at risk. Are you willing to cut it down to a couple beers at bedtime or whatever? Can we get you to that place, right? And that's called harm reduction. Basically, like, you're not telling the person that they necessarily have to quit altogether, but you're trying to get it to a safer place where they're not necessarily destroying their liver. They're not necessarily putting themselves in danger through driving or anything like that. Uh, so yeah, I'm kind of getting into therapy mode here now. 3 weeks to break. Ooh, 3 weeks to break a caffeine addiction. 3 weeks. Oof. Yeah, those headaches are boogers when you go through caffeine withdrawal. Um, there's some debate about that, Southern Tier Prepper, depending on which source you read. Some people say no, that's not true. They've been lab tested. I can't say either way. I know Yapan does. There is some debate about cleavers. Instant coffee. Yep, that's a good suggestion right there, Tuck. That's like astronaut coffee, basically, like Nescafe. Yeah, and the good thing, if you live rural, hunting and fishing and trapping and snaring might be good options for you. The one concern that we have in the prepping community is that if things got to like as bad as the Great Depression, the number of people doing that would surge, and people would be doing it like out of season and stuff like that. So you can thin out a population of animals so much that they become almost extinct. I've read stories about the squirrel population during the Great Depression on the East Coast, at least, had gotten so low that they were actually kind of rare for a while, and then of course they made a huge comeback. Oh, there you go, Lee. A lot of people do quit when they're in the hospital. You're welcome. You're welcome, Bacon. We hunt in the cities. It just isn't what you normally hunt. I don't store more than a year's worth. Freeze dried whole beans. Yep, that's a good suggestion. I should have said that. Whole beans. Okay, so Sue says she's drinking coffee that's several years old and it's fine. Vacuum sealed. Okay. All right, I'm gonna scroll down here, guys, and then I think I'm gonna wind this one down. Tuck, I've got a bad. I'll own it. I've got a bad caffeine addiction, and a lot of therapists do, because we are sitting all day long, and I do get up at lunch and I move around and I try to, do a little walking at lunchtime and that kind of stuff. But we're basically sitting like 7 or 8 hours a day. It's very sedentary job, and unfortunately, that lowers our metabolism. It lowers our. I have very, very low blood pressure. I don't know if that's common for my field. Um, there's a lot of health risks, of course, with not being as active as other professions. And because we're so sedentary, we become very, very dependent. I'm not going to speak for everybody, but a lot of therapists have a very bad caffeine addiction. I'm aware of mine. I'm aware of how bad it is. My plan is, when I retire in 14 years, that's going to be one of the first things I do, is start to wean myself off of that and hopefully get off of it completely. Not saying that coffee is a terrible thing. Like, a small amounts of coffee are actually good for the brain. There's a lot of research behind that, but the amount of coffee that I drink, I can tell you, is probably not good. And it's a concern for me that, like, I don't want to be addicted to anything, right? So, like, if I go traveling, I have to worry about where am I going to get my cup of coffee. I don't like that feeling that I have to think about that. I would much rather have it be like, hey, I got nothing to do. Why don't I get a cup of coffee, right? Like that harm reduction idea. But yeah, it's a real thing, and I will tell you, it's not just therapists. A lot of people who are like sitting all day long develop a coffee addiction. Why in the hell would I mean, I'm concerned about it, the amount that I drank, you know. I don't know enough about that, Sue. If you wanna chime in, you can. I think it's a good idea to have some instant coffee stored up. Hey, Sunflower. Appreciate you. Stiff lip. So glad I'm here. I'm glad you're here too, buddy. I'm glad you're here too. Creative redundancy. If I didn't say hi to you before, thank you. Appreciate you. No, yeah, I would think it's the oils that could potentially make it to go bad. That was my thought on it as well. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and hit the bottom of this. If I missed something, you all did a great job, great suggestions, great comments here. I do have a positive message, so if you can hang in here with me, just a minute more. I spent some time earlier today writing this up. So we have had in humanity, we have had numerous times. If you're getting into preparedness, part of it is inevitably going to lead you down that path of like, what is the big SHTF? What's the thing that's going to take out humans? You're inevitably going to think about that. Humans have had numerous times throughout our history where we have been on the brink of extinction. Our population numbers were so low that extinction was definitely possible. 930,000 years ago. I'm going to try this again. Let's start over. 930,000 years ago, we hit the ancient bottleneck. This was a period in humanity's history where our ancestors nearly went extinct due to climate change in Africa. They believe that the population of humans, and again, you're not talking about like modern humans. These were more closer to cavemen, so to speak. I don't know if that was the Stone Age, but 1,300 individuals was about the number that they think humans had got down to. That is near extinction. Okay. And it stayed pretty low for about 120,000 years. Our genetic diversity got pretty limited during that time period, they think. The next one was the Toba catastrophe, which was a super volcano in Indonesia that triggered a global cooling effect. We think that humanity's population, and this was Homo sapiens at this time now, modern humans, humanity's history would have dropped to below 10,000 people. There was the Ice Age bottleneck. During the last glacial maximum, harsh conditions in Europe led to extreme isolation and fragmentation of humanity's wandering groups and villages. Genomic studies show that hunter-gatherers in Europe were living in tiny bands of fewer than 30 people at a time. And that's far below the minimum recommended size for healthy reproduction and genetic diversity. These small scattered populations had very limited genetic diversity, and this created a major bottleneck. Researchers believe that northern populations were periodically reinvigorated by migrations from the south, and then when the climate became more stable, the genetic diversity was able to grow again. What about the Great Floods? Well, there's two events that are possible candidates for the Great Flood that's spoken about in many cultures and texts. The Black Sea Deluge was about 7,500 years ago. And if you think about the time of the Old Testament and the Torah, that aligns right with about when the Great Flood of the Bible was spoken about. So geologists William Ryan and Walter Pittman proposed that a massive flood occurred when massive Mediterranean waters breached the Bosporus Strait, pouring into the lower Black Sea basin. This event may have submerged over 60,000 square miles of land, displacing thousands of people and reshaping early human settlements. Sediment layers and submerged structures support the theory that this flood was sudden and catastrophic. My personal belief is that that's the flood from the Bible. But there's another candidate as well, and that's the Younger Dryas floods. The Younger Dryas floods, a sudden return to glacial conditions, may have been triggered by cosmic impacts, leading to massive meltwater floods. These floods could have caused widespread destruction across North America and Eurasia, disrupting early human cultures and forcing migration. Some researchers link this event to the origins of flood myths found in cultures worldwide, from the Epic of Gilgamesh to Aboriginal Dreamtime stories. And this part here, folks, was written by me. From supervolcanoes to catastrophic floods and prolonged winters, from war to disease to famine, humanity has endured. Not by chance, but by adaptation, ingenuity, and an unyielding will to survive. There were times when our species numbered in mere thousands, when our light was on the verge of being extinguished from the universe. Yet we have learned to make fire, to build shelter, to share stories and knowledge, and that knowledge helped each other to adapt and survive. We've crossed oceans, we've scaled the tallest mountains, and now we travel into space. Not because it's easy, but because we refuse to be erased, because we will not go quietly into the void. We will not become a kingdom of fossils. Every generation has its own darkness, and every time we find the light in each other, in innovation, and in the quiet courage to just keep going. So if current events feel heavy, remember you are the descendant of survivors. Your blood and DNA carries the memory of triumph over extinction. Our minds hold the power to reshape the future, and our hearts have evolved with a spirit of hope, curiosity, and ingenuity. Hold fast, adapt, endure. The story of humanity is not one of fragility, but of fierce resilience, and it is far from over. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. Don't forget to check in the description down below for some links for products and discount codes that I think you'll enjoy. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much for sharing a piece of your weekend with me. And take good care of yourselves, your family, and your pets. And don't eat fluffy. Keep planting your seeds. Keep stacking your silver. This is Prepping with Sarge. Good night, everybody.